Live your best life every day. Inner Steel, YouTube script. Cold open. You are not tired. You are uninspired. There is a difference, and once you understand that difference, everything changes. Most people wake up, drag themselves through the day, and call that living. They survive. They endure. They wait for something to happen that makes them feel alive. They say, "I'll start when things calm down," or, "I'll really begin once life gives me a break." But life does not give breaks. Life gives moments. And what you do with those moments is the only thing that defines you. This is not a video about motivation. Motivation fades. This is a video about something deeper, a way of operating, a philosophy of daily life that the greatest minds in human history understood and lived by. The Stoics called it living according to nature. We call it living your best life. Not someday. Not eventually. Every single day. Stay with me. By the end of this, you will not just feel different, you will think differently. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Inner Steel. Subscribe now, because this channel exists for one reason: to forge the kind of person who doesn't just survive this world, they master it. Point 1. Wake up like your life depends on it. In the winter of 1944, a man named Viktor Frankl lay on a frozen concrete floor inside a Nazi concentration camp. He had lost his wife, his manuscript, his entire world had been stripped away. He had nothing. And yet, every morning, when the guards shouted for prisoners to rise, Viktor Frankl did something extraordinary. He stood up with intention. Not because life was good. Not because the day offered anything pleasant. He stood up because he had decided that as long as he was breathing, he was going to choose how he showed up for that breath. He later wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Now look at your life. Look at your morning. Do you wake up like a man who has decided to live, or do you wake up like a man who is being dragged into another day? The first hour of your morning is not just a routine. It is a declaration. It tells your brain, your body, and the universe what kind of person you intend to be. When you reach for your phone before your feet hit the floor, you are telling yourself that other people's thoughts matter more than your own. When you lie in bed negotiating with the alarm, you are practicing the art of surrender before the day has even begun. The ancient Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man who governed an empire, commanded armies, and outlasted more tragedy than most people could imagine, wrote this in his private journal. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, "I have to go to work, as a human being. What do I have to complain of, if I'm going to do what I was born for?" He wrote that to himself. Not for anyone else. Just to remind himself that a purposeful morning was not optional, it was his duty. Your morning is your duty too. Wake up before the world demands something from you, so that you can demand something from yourself first. Drink water. Move your body. Sit in silence for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what is the one thing that, if I do it today, will make today worth it? Then go do that thing before anything else. This is not about becoming a monk or a morning productivity machine. This is about reclaiming the first moments of your day as your own. Because how you start is how you finish. And if you start half asleep, half committed, and half present, that is exactly how the rest of your day will run. Living your best life begins before 7 a.m. It begins with a choice. The same choice Viktor Frankl made on a frozen floor with nothing to his name. If he could do it there, you can do it here. Point 2. Stop waiting for permission to be great. There is a story about a young Michelangelo, long before he painted the Sistine Chapel, long before he sculpted David. He was an apprentice in Florence, working under established artists, and everywhere he turned, someone was telling him what he could not do. You are too young. You are too inexperienced. You do not have the right to create freely yet. One day, he stopped asking. He simply started creating. He worked in secret. He practiced obsessively. And when the time came to show what he was capable of, the world had no choice but to take notice. Most people are living in a waiting room. They are waiting for someone to tell them they are ready. Waiting for the right moment, the right resources, the right permission slip that will finally justify them taking their life seriously. They are waiting for their boss to recognize them, for their family to support them, for society to create space for them. No one is coming. This is one of the most brutal and liberating truths you will ever hear. No one is going to validate you into greatness. No one is going to clear the path for you. No one is going to hand you the permission you keep waiting for. You have to grant it to yourself, and you have to do it now, not when everything is aligned, not when you feel confident enough, but right now, in the middle of your ordinary, imperfect, uncertain life. The philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. He had no rights, no property, no freedom of movement. And yet he developed one of the most powerful philosophies of human excellence the world has ever known. He did not wait for Rome to free him before he started thinking like a free man. He built his philosophy in chains. He wrote, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." What is in your power right now? What can you begin today without anyone's approval? Write the first paragraph. Record the first episode. Make the first call. Post the first video. Take the first step toward the business, the body, the life you keep saying you want, and take it without waiting for a green light from anyone. Greatness does not come with a permission slip. It comes with a decision. Make the decision today. Point 3. Protect your energy like it is your most valuable asset. In 1927, a young writer named Ernest Hemingway had a strict rule. He wrote every morning, starting at first light, and he stopped the moment he felt he still had more in him, not when he was exhausted, but when he was at his peak. He would leave the work at a high point so that the next morning, he already knew where to begin. He guarded those hours ferociously. He did not take calls. He did not sit in meetings. He did not let other people's noise into his creative space. He understood something that most people never figure out: your energy is not renewable on demand. It is a finite resource. And if you let everyone else spend it, there will be nothing left for the things that actually matter to you. Energy is not just physical. It is mental, emotional, and spiritual. Every argument you engage in that does not need to happen, that costs you energy. Every social media scroll, every conversation with someone who drains you, every obligation you say yes to out of guilt, that costs you energy. Every news cycle you consume before you have done anything meaningful for yourself, that costs you energy. And here is what no one tells you: you do not get that energy back. You just run the rest of the day on whatever is left, wondering why you never seem to have enough of yourself to give to the things you actually care about. The Stoics understood this. Seneca wrote, "It is not that I have so much time to waste, it is that I refuse to let others waste what little I have." Living your best life requires that you treat your energy the way a serious athlete treats their body, with discipline, with intention, and with the knowledge that what you put in determines what you can put out. This means you will have to disappoint some people. It means you will have to say no, firmly, without excessive explanation, to demands on your time and attention that do not serve your growth. It means you will have to create boundaries that feel uncomfortable at first, because you have spent years letting the world walk through you without asking. Do it anyway. The people who are building something real, in their bodies, their careers, their families, their inner lives, are the people who have learned to say no to the trivial so they can say yes to the essential. Protect your energy. Guard your morning. Choose your battles. Your best life is built in the spaces where you refuse to let the noise in. Point 4. Master one day before you plan 100. Alexander the Great, at 25 years old, had already conquered Persia. Not because he had a 10-year plan. Not because he had mapped out every campaign in advance. He conquered it because he was obsessed with winning today's battle. He was present. He was focused. He studied the ground beneath his feet, the enemy in front of him, and the men beside him, and he dominated the moment he was actually in. Most people are trying to live 5 years from now. They are building vision boards for the life they want in 2030 while the life they have in this moment is crumbling from neglect. They are planning the business they will start someday while the skill they need to build that business is going unpracticed today. They are dreaming about the relationship they want while failing to show up as the person who deserves it, right now. Living your best life is not a destination. It is a daily practice. What did you do today that made you better than yesterday? What conversation did you have that deepened a relationship? What skill did you practice that brought you closer to mastery? What moment of beauty or gratitude did you actually stop to notice? If you cannot answer those questions, you did not live your best life today. You survived it. The Stoics had a concept called amor fati, love of fate, love of what is. It is the discipline of embracing your current reality not as an obstacle to your real life, but as the actual material from which your real life is made. This day, this ordinary, inconvenient, imperfect day, is not in the way of your best life. It is your best life, in its raw form, waiting to be shaped by how you engage with it. Take today seriously. Not tomorrow. Not the version of tomorrow you have been romanticizing for years. Master today. Do the work today. Be present today. Connect deeply today. Choose discipline today. And when tomorrow comes, do it again. That is how the best life gets built, not in grand gestures and perfect conditions, but in the quiet, consistent mastery of ordinary days. Point 5. Face the hard thing first. In 1804, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte was preparing for what would become one of the most decisive campaigns in European history. His advisors were cautious. They presented him with plans that minimized risk, that preserved resources, that hedged against failure. Napoleon dismissed them all. He told his commanders something that became legendary in military circles: attack the strongest point first. If you can break the hardest thing, everything else breaks with it. That principle applies to your daily life with the same force it applied on the battlefield. Every single day, you have a hard thing. You know what it is. It is the conversation you have been avoiding, the workout you have been skipping, the project you keep opening and closing without making progress, the phone call you need to make but keep putting off, the decision you have been delaying because making it will require you to give something up. The hard thing does not go away when you avoid it. It grows. It sits at the back of your mind like a stone in your shoe, not big enough to stop you, but constant enough to drain you. Every time you walk past it and choose the easier thing first, you lose a little bit of momentum, a little bit of self-respect, and a little bit of the belief that you are actually capable of doing what you say you want to do. Mark Twain once said, "If it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the biggest one first." Do the hard thing before anything else today. Not because you feel like it. Not because conditions are perfect. But because the act of facing the hard thing first is the act of proving to yourself that you are in charge of your life, not your comfort, not your fear, not your procrastination. Every time you do the hard thing first, you build a version of yourself who does hard things. And the person who does hard things consistently becomes the person who other people call lucky, talented, or gifted, when really they are just disciplined. The hard thing is waiting. Go face it now. Point 6. Build relationships that make you better. In ancient Greece, there was a circle of men who met regularly in the agora, the public square, to challenge each other's thinking. They debated, argued, questioned, and pushed each other toward deeper understanding. Socrates was at the center of this circle, but the point was never Socrates. The point was what happened when sharp minds committed to truth were held accountable by each other. They made each other better. Not by agreeing with each other. By refusing to let each other be lazy thinkers. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with. Not who you follow on social media, who you actually talk to, eat with, think alongside. Do those people challenge you? Do they raise the standard of how you think and act and carry yourself? Or do they make it comfortable to be less than what you are capable of? This is not about being cold or cutting people off carelessly. This is about being honest with yourself about the environment you are choosing to live in, because your environment, including the people in it, is constantly shaping who you are becoming. Jim Rohn said it plainly. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. But the Stoics went even deeper. Seneca wrote, Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The best relationships are not comfortable. They are honest. The people in your life who truly care about you are not the ones who tell you what you want to hear. They are the ones who care enough about your potential to tell you when you are falling short of it. Seek those people out. And be that person for someone else. Call the friend who actually makes you think harder. Reach out to the mentor who holds you to a higher standard. Invest real time and real vulnerability into the relationships that bring out the best in you, and stop pouring your finite energy into connections that ask nothing of you and give nothing back. Your best life is not built alone. It is built alongside people who believe in what you are capable of, and who prove it by refusing to let you settle. Point 7. Let go of the version of yourself that no longer fits. There is a story about a Japanese samurai named Miyamoto Musashi, one of the greatest swordsmen in history. In his later years, long after he had won over 60 duels without a single defeat, a student asked him what had been the greatest battle of his life. Musashi paused for a long time. Then he said, "The battle against the man I used to be. Not the battles against his enemies. The battle against himself. Against the limitations, the old stories, the past version of who he had been, the ego, the fear, the need to prove something that no longer served him." Most people are carrying a version of themselves that expired years ago. They are still operating from the identity they formed when they were 19, when they were hurt, when they were broke, when they were afraid, when the world felt smaller and meaner than it actually is. They are still running the same internal script about who they are and what they deserve, even as life has moved on and offered them something bigger. The man who was betrayed at 25 does not need to carry that betrayal at 35. The man who failed at his first business does not need to define himself by that failure forever. The man who grew up with nothing does not need to spend his whole life operating from a scarcity mindset that no longer reflects his reality. You are allowed to outgrow who you were. In fact, you are required to. The Stoics spoke of constant revision, the examined life, the daily audit of your thoughts and beliefs and behaviors to ask, is this still serving me? Is this still true? Is this the man I want to be, or is this just the man I got used to being? Let go of the old narrative. Stop defending the past version of yourself to people who knew you then. Stop using your history as an excuse for your present limitations. And stop being afraid of who you might become if you actually committed to your own growth with everything you have. The caterpillar does not negotiate with its old form. It dissolves completely to become something it could not have imagined before. Dissolve what no longer serves you. Become what you were always capable of being. Point 8. Find your silence. There is a passage in the journals of Leo Tolstoy where he describes walking alone in the woods outside his estate at Yasnaya Polyana. No servants, no guests, no literary circles. Just him and the trees and the sound of his own breathing. He wrote that these hours of solitude were not rest, they were work. The most important work. Because it was only in the silence that he could hear what he actually thought, what he actually felt, what he actually believed, separate from the noise and expectations of everyone around him. Tolstoy wrote Anna Karenina. He wrote War and Peace. He wrote some of the most profound literature in human history. And he credited much of it to the silence he fought to protect. What does your silence look like? Not the silence of exhaustion, where you collapse into the couch after a long day, scrolling through a phone until you fall asleep. That is not silence. That is numbing. I mean real silence. Deliberate silence. The kind where there is no screen, no input, no stimulation, just you, sitting with yourself, hearing what is actually going on inside. Most people are terrified of that silence. Because in the silence, you cannot run from yourself. You cannot distract yourself from the questions that matter. Am I actually happy? Am I actually becoming the person I want to be? Am I living in alignment with my values, or am I just going through motions that look like a life from the outside? These are hard questions. The noise protects you from having to face them. That is exactly why you need to face them. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, with every demand of state and war and governance pressing on him from all sides, still retreated into his private journal every single day. Not to perform for anyone. Just to think. Just to sit with himself and ask what was actually true. Build silence into your day. Even 10 minutes. Walk without headphones. Sit without your phone. Let your thoughts surface without immediately reaching for something to drown them out. Your best life is not built in the noise. It is found in the quiet, where you can finally hear what you actually want, and make the deliberate choice to go get it. Point 9. Take radical ownership of everything. In 1914, Ernest Shackleton's ship, the Endurance, became trapped in the pack ice of Antarctica. It was crushed and sank, leaving Shackleton and 27 men stranded on one of the most hostile environments on the planet. No rescue was coming. No satellite phone. No emergency extraction. No one was going to save them. Shackleton did not blame the ice. He did not curse the sea or the weather or his own ambition for leading them there. He looked at his men, took stock of what he had, and simply said, "We will survive this." Every decision from that day forward was his. Every burden was his. Every outcome was his responsibility. He led those men on one of the most extraordinary survival journeys in human history. 800 miles across the open Southern Ocean in a small lifeboat, through some of the worst seas on Earth. And not one man died. Not one. That is what radical ownership looks like. Not the comfortable kind of responsibility where you take credit for success and explain away failure. The real kind, where you accept that your life, your outcomes, your circumstances, your emotional state, your progress or lack thereof, all of it falls under your jurisdiction. All of it is yours to own, shape, and respond to. The moment you stop blaming is the moment you become powerful. As long as you are blaming your parents, your upbringing, your circumstances, the economy, the people who wronged you, you are handing power over your life to things and people who are not even thinking about you. You are making yourself a passenger in your own story. Take the wheel. Epictetus wrote, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will have a tranquil flow of life." This is not passivity. This is the deepest form of strength, accepting what cannot be changed and then doing everything within your power to shape what can. No excuses. No blame. No waiting for the world to become fairer before you decide to fully engage with it. Own your life today. All of it. Even the parts that are not your fault. Because fair or not, you are the only one who can build what comes next. Point 10. Do something today that your future self will thank you for. In 1976, a young man named Arnold Schwarzenegger was at the height of his bodybuilding career. He had already won 5 Mr. Olympia titles. He could have coasted. He could have protected his legacy by playing it safe. Instead, he enrolled in acting classes, studied English obsessively, and began pursuing a vision of himself that everyone around him said was impossible. A thick Austrian accent. A name no one could pronounce. A body that Hollywood said was too big for leading roles. None of that stopped him. He was not training for who he was. He was training for who he intended to become. In 1984, The Terminator was released. The rest is history. What are you doing today that your future self will be grateful for? Not what you plan to do. Not what you intend to do. What are you actually doing, today, with the hours you have, that is building the life you say you want? This is the question that separates the people who live their best life from the people who talk about it. Because your future self is not some separate person. Your future self is you, the same you, carrying the consequences of every choice you are making right now. Every hour you invest in your growth, your future self benefits. Every hour you spend avoiding the work, your future self pays the price. Plant the seed today, not tomorrow. Today. Read the chapter that will change how you think. Start the practice that will build the skill. Have the difficult conversation that will strengthen the relationship. Put the money in the account. Do the reps. Write the words. Make the call. The investment you make in yourself today is the only investment with a guaranteed return. Markets crash. Relationships change. Opportunities come and go. But the person you are building, the character, the skills, the discipline, the self-knowledge, that is yours forever. Live today in a way that the man you want to become would be proud of. Because that man is counting on you. Point 11. Close the day with intention. Seneca wrote in one of his letters, I will keep watch over myself and, most usefully, will put each day up for review. Every evening, without fail, he would sit with his thoughts and ask 3 questions. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? What could I have done better? Not to punish himself. To learn. To refine. To carry the lessons of today into a better version of tomorrow. This is how the greatest lives get built, not just in how they begin, but in how they end. Most people let their days close accidentally. They drift through the evening, consuming content, half present, and wake up the next morning to repeat the same patterns without ever examining them. They wonder why nothing changes. They wonder why they feel stuck. But they never stop long enough to audit the day they just lived. Close your day deliberately. Before you sleep, put the day on trial. What worked? What didn't? Where did you compromise yourself when you didn't have to? Where did you show up fully and what did that feel like? What one thing can you do tomorrow that you did not do today? This is not about guilt. It is about growth. The examined life, as Socrates said, is the only life worth living. And the most effective unit of examination is the day, short enough to be specific, long enough to contain real data about who you are and who you are becoming. Write it down if you can. Even 3 sentences. The brain clarifies when the hand moves. And the act of capturing the day, its wins, its failures, its moments of genuine aliveness, trains you to start noticing those things more while they are happening. Your best life is built in the sum of your days. And the quality of each day improves in direct proportion to how seriously you take the review. End today with intention. Rise tomorrow with purpose. And do it again, because that is what living your best life actually looks like. Not a perfect life, not an easy life, but a life lived on purpose, with discipline, with presence, and with the unshakable conviction that you are exactly the person you intend to be. Closing. So let me bring this home. 12 thematic stops. 11 pillars. One truth that runs through all of them: your best life is not a destination. It is a discipline. It is the daily choice, made when you are tired, when you are uncertain, when no one is watching and nothing seems to be working, to show up fully for the one life you have been given. Viktor Frankl found meaning on a frozen prison floor. Marcus Aurelius found philosophy at the head of an empire in chaos. Shackleton found leadership in the belly of an Antarctic disaster. Michelangelo found greatness by refusing to wait for permission. Arnold found his future in a gym when everyone told him his dreams were ridiculous. They all lived their best lives not because conditions were perfect. Because they decided to. That decision is available to you, right now, today, in whatever circumstances you are currently sitting in. Make it. Wake up like it matters. Protect your energy. Face the hard thing. Build relationships that demand your best. Let go of who you were. Find your silence. Own everything. Plant seeds for your future self. Close each day with intention. That is the formula. Simple. Difficult. Worth it. If this spoke to something in you, if you felt something shift while you were watching, then you already know what to do next. Hit subscribe to Inner Steel. We are building a community of men who are done coasting and ready to live at their actual level. Every single video on this channel is designed for one purpose: to make you harder, sharper, and more fully alive. Subscribe to Inner Steel. This is where the work gets done. Now go live the day you were built for.